There you go. Finally, we got to see the little poison icon. That was fun. Alright, this could potentially be a tough matchup. We're up against Shieldred, the Apocalypse. Alright, we've got 3 lands, Experimental Augury, Infectious Inquiry. I like this. We've got one of the only Infect lands I know about, which is Inkmoth Nexus. You can make it a 1/1 artifact creature with flying and Infect till end of turn. It's still a land. Rather than doing that, let's lead off with Bilious Skull Dweller. Even though you're a shielded player, I guess I will give you a hello. I think their deck's going to be pretty powerful, and I'm not so sure about that. Alright, off the top, we got a Skithiryx. It's far too early for that. Let's attack first. See if they want to interact with this. Looks like they do. Looked like it anyway. Let's Inkmoth Nexus. And end the turn. I guess we should have played a blue so that we could have Experimental Augury. Alright, they long goodbye after the attack. Kind of questionable there. Because they have the single poison. That's what our deck wants to do, is apply that single point of poison and then proliferate or cheat our way to the rest. Okay, so I would imagine they're waiting for me to play the Etrata. They probably think my deck is focused on Etrata. It's really not. We'll go ahead and Infectious Inquiry. Draw 2 and lose 2 life. They do play the Orcish Bowmasters. That's unfortunate. Kind of walked into that one, I'll admit. They're having to play the Alchemy version of Orcish Bowmasters. The normal version of this card does a damage when it enters. Alright, so they are going to be playing their Shieldred. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to lose this one. So let's upkeep Experimental Augury. Let's grab Blood on the Snow. And because it is a sweeper, we are in quite a bit of trouble here. Let's go ahead and play Darkslick Shores, and we're going to have to get hit for at least 7 plus the Shielder damage on our upkeep. Yeah, we really need a sweeper or something here. And they've probably got protection for the Shieldred. Some kind of undying effect. They play a Hypnotic Spectre. Interesting. Whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, that player discards a card at random. That's kind of a odd card to be playing there. So I think what we may have to do to keep ourselves alive is... Okay, so we have Lost in the Maze. That is Flash. When it enters, tap X target creatures, put a stun counter on each of them. So we'll be able to tap 3 creatures. So we want to tap these 3. So that's what we'll do. We'll put a stop on their upkeep. And we'll plan on playing that. I still don't feel good about our chances. Before they even draw, let's pay 3. And let's tap you, you, and you. And that'll keep us alive for the moment. Because then we won't be facing lethal attack damage, right? And then next turn, we can Blood on the Snow. So is it that they... I'm just trying to figure out if they are just... This is all removal, or what's going on here. Alright, so only thing that we can do at this time is Blood on the Snow. And we have a creature to get back, so we can get back the Bilious Skull Dweller. And let's see if they've got some kind of undying effect. They do not. So we've taken care of Shieldred for the moment. We are at 4. Alright, they played Preacher of the Schism. Okay, so we can play out Skitherix, but we cannot give it haste, right? Because it costs 3 and 2 black, and then another black to give it haste. So we've only got 2 black. This is going to come in tapped. What we can do instead is we can Ink Mop Nexus. And let's see, would they dare block here? I think what we can do post-combat main is we can play out Tekuthal. Yeah, seems okay. Alright, so let's offer them the trade here. And Lost in the Maze does give our tapped creatures hexproof. Alright, so they accept that. And we play out Tekuthal. And I guess we will see if we survive. Alright, they play out Tiny Bones. I will definitely be blocking here if this survives. It does not. Right. So we really can't play out our sword and Skitherix. This is actually tough. I think we've got to River's Rebuke. And then we get these 2 Infect out, right? And if they don't kill us next turn, we've got the win, right? Because they're at 7 poison, and we can Skitherix. They just look like they're really choked on mana here. So, yeah, it's down to Down to this. So we can give this haste, but we cannot regenerate it. So let's give it a shot. I see. So I thought we were able to give this haste. So because of that, let's leave this back. And let's sort of light and shadow. Alright, so I do have an answer for the Skitherix, so glad we held on to... I'm glad we held this back. Now what we can probably do then is... we can swords up the Inkmoth Nexus. Okay. Okay, I think we've got this. So we will not shock in Watery Grave because that'll just straight up kill us. Enters tapped. Let's play this and see if they've got a way to interact with this. It had to have a fatal push. Alright, so that has protection from white and black, and their entire color schema is black, so this is going to be a lethal attack. Well, you saw it here first. Put a swords on an Inkmoth Nexus and go for the win. There you go. Finally, we got to see the little poison icon. That was fun. Alright, well that last game was pretty clunky, but still awesome. Alright, so here... I think this is okay. We're going to be playing up against Codus, the Fangkeeper. It's 1 an Assault Eye, indestructible. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So what this deck wants to do is something very similar to ours in terms of putting swords and protection. So these decks are very similar, but this one's been very popular in the last year. I haven't seen too many people playing Etrata Deadly Fugitive on the ladder. There's just not a lot of assassin support. Got a little bit better with Final Fantasy, but it's still not where it needs to be fully like a good strategy. So I changed it up a little bit, and I really enjoy this. People definitely, when they see this, they think it's one thing, and then we start showing the poison cards, and they're like, oh man, it's not that kind of deck. So one thing that we've got here is we can just go ahead and remove this, because giving this -1/-1 will get rid of it despite the indestructibility. So I don't love using it in that spot because we don't get to proliferate, but in a way it's better just to get it out of the way. Here we'll go ahead and play Etrata the Silencer. And the reason why this is good is because we can leave this back, assuming it lives, to take care of the next time they play the Codus, because it will exile it. Alright, so they play a Bloom Tender, and we will not attack. We're going to leave this on defense. We're going to play out our commander, the Etrata Deadly Fugitive, rather than Etrata the Silencer. So again, leaving this back on defense. Yeah, I think that is correct. So they cut down our commander, which is completely acceptable. So it couldn't get rid of Etrata because she has too much power and toughness. Alright, so in this case, let's go ahead and play out Masterpiece Vault after attack. So we'll attack, and then this will take out their commander. It'll just increase that commander tax. And she'll shuffle into our library. Alright, let's play out Masterpiece Vault. And so we'll sacrifice it next turn, and what this does is lets us draft any number of swords here, and if we have a creature out, we get to put it attached to that creature rather than, you know, paying the equip cost. Alright, they play Defense of the Heart, which isn't really going to be too great against our deck. Alright, so here, let's play out our Etrata. And do they have another way of killing it immediately? Not at the moment. We are going to have to be careful because of Defense of the Heart. Because if Etrata goes about making too many creatures, this is going to trigger. So, let's see. What do we want to do now? Let's not attack. The more I think about this, the better this card actually is, because our swords want... we want to be able to attack with our commander here, just to make a bigger board. So here they're going to get to make us discard something. Don't care about too much of it. Now they know our whole hand, so that does remove the element of surprise. Let's go ahead and make a treasure, draw a card. And so now we have Cryptic Command up. We do have Mithril Coat up as well. We are having to play a little scared here, unfortunately, as they're going to be able to search for anything. So search for something to kill our commander. We can throw Mithril Coat onto the battlefield, which will give this indestructible. Let's see, what did they get? Breach the multiverse. I don't want them to do that, so let's go ahead and counter that and return the Defense of the Heart. Or is it Leyline Axe? Defense of the Heart, I think. We'll continue with this. We don't need to pay an additional 3 life for the Shapeshifter. Alright, just drew a land off of that. And here, we don't have any poison on him yet. So let's sacrifice the Masterpiece Vault and see what we get. Alright, so I think it's going to be sort of... Let's see... Sword and Ward in peace, perhaps? And then we'll Mithril Coat. And so they got our Vein Ripper. And what do we get from them? We got a Zagoth Triome. So they did a Culling Ritual. And I imagine they're going to play Defense of the Heart once more. So it'd have to have an edict effect to destroy this, right? Because it has indestructible. Alright, so there's the Defense of the Heart. We're going to continue to make mana and draw cards. Fortunately, we're only drawing lands. Alright, let's equip this. And we'll play out the Jitte. We will not be able to equip, however. They have some kind of response to this. Okay. So let's go ahead and attack. So we got Sword of War and Peace equipped, Mithril Coat. Well, we have two Sword of War and Pieces, it looks like, actually. Alright, so that has Indestructible. Okay. Opponent's deck is very frustrating, I'll admit. Oh wow, they have Double Strike. Oh man, sometimes you can swords it up and it just doesn't work. Ah man. Alright, we're going up against Go Shintai, so enchantments. One Swan Song isn't going to do it, but regardless of that, we can at least stop their first enchantment play. If you're not familiar with Go Shintai, it's a legendary enchantment creature shrine. And for Wooburg, you can tap it to return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever Go Shintai of Life's Origin or another non-token shrine you control enters, create a 1/1 colorless shrine enchantment creature token. So if you're not familiar with the play style on that, it's going wide with enchantments, as enchantment removal is very difficult for some decks to deal with. My deck in specific is this way. Dimir doesn't have a lot of ways of interacting with enchantments. So notably, we could hold up Swan Song for their commander if we wanted to. Or we'll just play it by ear, though. So in this case, a lot of my games so far, I actually haven't played my commander at all. My commander is Etrata, Deadly Fugitive. She is a 1/4 Death Touch Vampire Assassin, and she reads, face down creatures you control have 2 in Dimir. Turn this creature face up. If you can't, exile it, then you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. Whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to an opponent, cloak the top card of that player's library. And the reminder text off to the side says to cloak a card, put on the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. Turn it up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So all that to say is what Etrata typically cares about is getting in for attack damage. But I made this into specifically a Dimir poison deck instead. So what can we do here? We can play Sword of Sinew and Steel, leaving up either Offer You Can't Refuse or Swan Song. And we'll go ahead and swing in. And we'll see if we get an attack trigger here, or attack damage trigger. So you get to see what this actually means. It's a lot of text, but what it is we've stolen a card from our opponent, and what this card is their own Offer You Can't Refuse. So if we were to turn this up at sorcery speed, we could counter something of theirs, but not likely to be relevant, just because of the fact that it's at sorcery speed. So I went ahead and elected to Swan Song their commander as we were chatting here, just because there's so much value there. And they've seen enough. Against another Go Shintai deck. I think this is keepable. Alright, Pork Soda 30. Guess they're Primus fans. Alright, lead off on an island. Strike the fear in their hearts, I guess. And they play a Jukai Naturalist. Alright, so we got a Swamp, and we top decked Vilus Skull Dweller, which is a Death Touch Toxic 1 for a 1 black. And we'll be able to play Sunken Hollow next turn. So it might be afraid to play. Yeah, okay, so they have a couple creatures. That's unfortunate. They're leaving them back. So let's go ahead and Vraska's Fall one of these. And they are considering which one to keep. If it was me, I'd probably want to keep the Jukai Naturalist, but I don't know what they have in their hands, so. Alright, so I will just go ahead and attack. If they'd like to block, that is totally fine. They get another poison counter. And unfortunately, this Enchantress's presence is becoming quite a problem, because their deck already wants to cast a lot of enchantments, right? So they're just getting rewarded for doing what their deck wants to do in the first place. Alright, we got a River's Rebuke. We won't be able to play that for quite some time. We will play a... Let's see, do we play out Etrata? Yeah, let's think about this. Let's see what they do. We'll attack with the Skull Dweller once more. See if they choose to block with any of these. They do not. Alright, so we'll go ahead and play out Etrata because she is a defensive body. One for Death Touch is pretty hard to get through. So they, of course, are drawing a ton of cards. So we need to get down River's Rebuke ASAP. And we need to return everything back to their hand as soon as possible. Because they're just running away with the value, as you can see. Making a ton of shrines. And so, let's see. Let's do black market connections so that we can be assured of getting a mana next turn. I don't think we're going to go super crazy with this. Okay, so we have Malakir Rebirth up if we need it. So I think we're going to just play defense, right? So they can hit us for a ton if we don't stay back. We'll only have 2 blockers. This thing can get Trample. They play Sanctum of All, which is not great. So this lets them search for any shrine card at the beginning of their upkeep. So that'd be very bad for us if we let this sit. So I like our decision to kind of stay back there. The good news about all this is that once we bounce everything, they'll only have 6 mana, so it'll be very difficult for them to rebuild to the extent that they've done thus far. They're going to have to discard a hand size. They're going to have to... I'm trying to figure out what's the holdup on this. They don't have any mana, right? Must have missed something there. You have to discard 5 cards. As I suspected, they discard a bunch of lands. Let's make a treasure and draw a card, so that'll lose us 3 life. And we got Sword of Light and Shadow. I don't think we're going to have much chance to swords it up here, based on the kind of game we're playing, so let's River's Rebuke everything. If you've seen in my games before, you know this is one of my favorite cards, and you can see just why in some cases, because it's just so impactful. It's just like a little bit cheaper of a Cyclonic Rift. In 1v1 though, it's actually better, and because it's 1 mana cheaper, right? So, and now I would suspect, okay, no Salt Rope there. Up to 4 poison, and we got a High Bay Forest Guardian underneath. So for 2 in Dimir, we can flip this up. We won't have any shrine cards. So it'll just be a 4/4 for us. And I think what we need to do is probably go all in on this Inexorable Tide. We need to get them to 6 poison counters as soon as possible. And they're going to Lightning Bolt our Skull Dweller, but the poison damage has been done. Really, for anybody that plays poison, the best way to think about it is you got to get that first poison on them, and then once you've done that, you really just have to find more ways to increment it up. So we are going to Inexorable Tide, and then we will Infectious Inquiry, which is actually going to give them 2 poison counters because we've got the Inexorable Tide out. So they'll get the poison counter from that, and then we'll proliferate, giving them another. So I suspect we're going to get there pretty quickly here. They don't really have any good blocks. So let's just go ahead and swing with Etrata and just get another face down card from them. And I'm feeling pretty good about this. Okay, so they sacrifice their Go Shintai. I don't agree with that play. So they shocked in the Overgrown Tombs. They're going to try to play as much of their hand as possible. Because we only have to play 4 more spells. That's as long as this is uninteracted with, that's what this means. 4 spells means death by poison. And we've got 4 spells in our hand. So Sword's our commander. That's fine. Alright, let us pay 3 life. And then we're going to chain as many spells as we can. Commander's Plate. That's another poison. And so we have 8. We'll just play out our cheapest spells and see if we can get there. And that should do it. Yep, Inexorable Tide does it again. And you can see the reaction that opponents have. They never want to actually die by the poison. They'd rather just click concede immediately rather than the shame of being poisoned out, because in Brawl, people don't like that. So, good game. Alright, what are we going up against? Murata Neuron Hacker. Whenever you draw your first or second card each turn, put an Ingenuity counter on Murata. You can tap her, and you can cast an artifact spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the number of Ingenuity counters on Murata without paying its mana cost. Alright. So is this keepable? It's not great. We don't have enough lands. This is a lot better. So we have some of our evil swords. We got the Void Wing hybrid to kick things off with the poison. So let's go with this. Good, we drew a Vraska's Fall, which should allow us to have them sacrifice their commander, potentially. I guess we'll see what kind of artifact build they are. Alright, they play Eye of Vecna. Never been too impressed with this card, but Drix Interlacer is better. Whenever another artifact you control enters, this artifact intensifies by 1. And then sacrifice this artifact, draw X cards, where X is half this artifact's intensity, rounded down. Activate only as a sorcery. Alright. Well, let's lead off with an attack. First poison acquired. And then I think we Vraska's Fall, because that's going to slow him down a bit, right? So give him another poison, and it gets their commander off the board and starts the counters over again, so I like that. They replay it, but it slows them down for another turn. Alright. So they are blue, so they're not going to be doing a lot of killing. Save Pongify, I guess, is something in the format now. Let's lead off with another poison attack. And they hate this, and I love it. That's awesome. Alright, we are searching for that super fun game to showcase. I think we need more lands for this to work. Alright, that's a little bit better. So their commander is Inala Archmage Ritualist. It's a legendary creature, human wizard with eminence. Whenever another non-token wizard you control enters, if Kuja is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you may pay 1. And if you do, create a token that's a copy of that wizard. The token gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. Tap 5 untapped wizards you control. Target player loses 7 life. So it's probably going to be a bunch of ETBs and wizard value. Black market connections early in the game is good, so we'll hold on to that. Play our Underground River, pass the turn. They crack their Flooded Strand. Probably searching for a Steam Vents or something that gives them red. Yep. They shock in Steam Vents. Play out Trophy Mage. Probably searching for some kind of mana rock. I guess they didn't do that time. It's kind of odd. Alright, we'll play out Black Market Connections. Alright, they Faithless Looting. Oh wow, they discarded a Peer into the Abyss. That must mean they have some kind of combo here. Not as scary. You get hit for 2. Alright, let's create a treasure and draw a card. Venser. And I guess we'll hold off on that Serum Snare. Doesn't seem good to give them extra value. A big score. So they won't be able to activate this with the amount of mana that that gives them. Won't be able to play it out potentially, but they won't be able to copy the ability, right? Okay, so there's some kind of reanimator deck, yeah. At least we did draw an offer you can't refuse. So let's play Etrata. And we'll hit him here. So now we're ready at least for some kind of big turn that they might have. Let's discard Tekuthal, I think. It's going to be a bit too slow. We need to continue to hit lands, which we haven't been good at so far. They're faithless looting again. They're digging. Clearly there's some kind of reanimator combo deck. More looting. I think we'll wait on the Whisper of the Dross. Because we just don't know what's going on here. We have to hold up offer you can't refuse. One step. Taking absolutely forever. Actually, let's hold off on this. We need mana. We'll just create a treasure here. Opponent is taking absolutely forever. They're stopping on my first main for some reason. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what is going on with what they got here. Peer into the Abyss is definitely a combo piece. Reanimate. Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, so after an eternity, they decided that we could play the game. Alright, so here, what we could do... Let's play Inexorable Tide. Still leaving up Offer. And then we go to attacks. Attack all. Then we continue to hold up Offer. Dross is fine because we get 2 proliferates, but we're not close to this yet. Alright, so Pyre of Heroes I think is worth countering. Because it just lets them keep chaining creatures. So they miscast us. So that gets countered. So now I wish we had got rid of the wizard, right? But you never know. Alright, so be able to get a 3-drop for 2 here. So return something to my hand. Okay. A necromancy what? This? Okay. That doesn't seem good at all. Alright, so let's whisper the Dross on here. And I think they're going to start to see the power of this deck. Let's Mesmerizing Dose this. I'll tap that down. Attack here. And just for good measure, let's prologue to Pharesis, which should do it, right? Because they get a poison. Yeah, that does it. They're hosed. All that careful thought, and they got poisoned out. Just have to keep clicking this, and they're at 10. And poisoned. Alright, well this is the kind of difficult match that we're here for. Their commander is Xanathar Guild Kingpin. It's Foreign and Dimir. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of their library anytime, and you may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as though as mana of any color to cast spells this way. This is a very good commander, and assuming they can ramp this out quickly, they're able to steal spells from us. They're also able to stop us from interacting with them at instant speed. So it could be a difficult commander to deal with. But I look forward to the challenge. Let's go here. So we'll lead off with Choked Estuary, revealing a swamp, and pass turn. We're a long way off from casting Cryptic Command because we're going to need 3 blue. So probably what we're going to do, rather than just playing our commander into some removal here, is we'll go with the Infectious Inquiry, and we'll draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Each opponent will get a poison. So that'll make our proliferate synergies a hell of a lot better. Okay, they've got a Liliana. That could be a problem. What do we discard? I think it's going to be one of our swords. And here... let's go ahead and draw another card. And we'll play out the Voidwing hybrid, and the reason being is because whenever we proliferate, we return this card from graveyard to our hand, and the way my deck is built, it's pretty easy to do that. So even if they make us sacrifice it with the Liliana, it should be pretty easy to get back. So that's the route I'm going to go here. So they're going to have us sacrifice the hybrid.
Off you go.
And now I do have Cryptic Command up, which is good because I can counter their Xanathar more than likely and bounce Liliana back to their hand. Or instead, do we Inexorable Tide? We're quite a long way off from poison, but I think this is better. We'll see if that's the right play or not. It could have gone either way. Because they're Dimir also, they are not going to have a lot of ways of interacting with this. So if they have us discard a card, we'll discard a swamp. And we can play this for 2 black. We'll just play out an artifact. And we'll leave the hybrid in our hand because we want to Cryptic Command them when they go to play anything impactful. So are they going to do something on my end step? It feels like it. Alright, so the 3 steps aheading this. Why in the world are they creating a copy of this? This is a legendary. It'll die to the legend rule. I think they realize that. I'm going to let them do that. So they're going to have to sacrifice one of them anyway. We're going to pass the turn. Leave the counter up. We'll discard the hybrid again.
We all have things we
And they have to know something is up. This is a sorcery speed, sadly. Alright, so trying to Cyclonic Rift everything. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to counter that. And return this to their hand. You notice we haven't played out our command and we're still putting a ton of pressure on them. Alright, they play a stock up. Seems pretty good. And we'll continue to discard the Void Wing because every time we play a spell we proliferate and we get it back to our hand. So let's Distorted Curiosity to draw 2 cards. Play out the Void Wing. I do like my decision to play out this Inexorable Tide because we are chaining off so many spells that we are proliferating at a very fast rate. What we might do in response to them having us sacrifice is Whisper of the Dross. Alright, they play Thief of Sanity. What do they have us do here? Destroy this. Let's actually give the Thief of Sanity a -1/-1 counter for the moment. So, yeah, that was it for them. I'm going to go back to the match. As you can see here, if I would have played any other single spell, I would have poisoned them out. So rather than getting up to the 10, they shame scooped. So I love it. Okay. Here's a card I would like to play, Pact Weapon. But sadly, we wouldn't be doing much. Well, you know what? We're playing for content, so I'll keep this hand. Just because of Pact Weapon. If we can get Pact Weapon attached to one of our creatures, then we get to do some really funny stuff. It says, as long as this equipment is attached to a creature, you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Whenever equipped creature attacks, draw a card and reveal it. The creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, and you lose X life, where X is that card's mana value, and then as equipped cost of discard a card. So what you want to do is typically protect this thing. Let's go ahead and Serum Snare this, just to slow them down a bit. And let's go ahead and play out our commander. If we draw a 4th land, we can equip Pact Weapon onto our commander and kind of go to town there. Alright, they play a land tax and this guy, so... Alright, so what do we discard? I think it's going to be Contagion Engine. So equip onto this. Dump that. We'll attack. We lose 2 life. Etrata gets +2/+2. And we get to steal land from them. Probably going to want to hold up Cryptic Command next turn. Alright, so they're going to make a monk. They attack here, no blocks. Alright. Let's swing with just the Etrata. And we lose 5 life, hits a 6/9. They'd probably want to block with the monk. That's fine. And where this gets really fun, and this is what I always want to showcase, is that I've definitely had some games where I was at negative life and opponents clicking and trying to figure out what's going on. It's because there's a wall of text on this. And they're like, don't want to read it, and then they realize why they're losing. Okay, so we didn't actually have Cryptic Command up. We can Wash Away. I think we should. Really wanted to get the island there. I think we need to do that next turn. Alright, well there we go. Now we've got Cryptic Command up. So let's swing in with this. Get a Mesmerizing Dose. It's getting huge amounts of damage in every turn. And we get to Cloak. And this isn't going to be useful for us. So let's just pass turn. So far no poison on them, but Pact Weapon is pretty cool. Alright, they'll continue to make shrines here. So I think we Cryptic Command that. And then we return this back to their hand. And do they have a response there? Are they done here? They just throw their computer out of the window? What's happening? I think we're getting salt rubbed here, guys. It's one salt rub. Second salt rub. And we didn't even get the poison going yet. I definitely did want to showcase one game with this card. It's difficult to pull off. I think we might have done it here, though. Okay, so they didn't... They let that They are still playing for the moment. All right, let's Undercity Sewers. This will allow us to know what we're getting next. It's going to be a land card. I think we can do better. Let's attack with Etrata. Unknown card at the top. Alright, and now I think we play a Blightbelly Rat to potentially get some poison. And let's play out Sword of Wealth and Power. And pass turn. I think we'll probably want to Mesmerizing Dose whatever they, as long as they only play like one creature. That's assuming they're still here, of course. They might have just hung it up though. But we're at 9 life, like they could definitely still get us. And they're gaining life every time we get a creature because they have authority, the consoles. Yeah, I don't even think the opponent knows what's happening anymore. They just threw their computer out the window, so. Yep, they're done. All because of that packed weapon and a well-timed Cryptic Command.